The Galactic Council convened in the Grand Chamber of Nexus Prime, their holographic forms shimmering across the circular assembly. Ambassador Thexlar of the Vordanian Empire stood at the central podium, his four arms gesturing dramatically as laughter rippled through the gathered species. "And so," he announced with barely concealed amusement, "we have received yet another message from the humans. They kindly request we cease our expansion into the Orion Spur." He paused for effect. "They ask us to respect their sovereignty." The chamber erupted in chittering, clicking, and various forms of alien mirth. The humans had been discovered only 30 cycles ago, a primitive species barely capable of faster-than-light travel, confined to a handful of systems. They had no quantum weaponry, no graviton shields, no antimatter drives. By galactic standards, they were children playing with wooden swords. "Respect?" High Counselor Zephix's translucent form pulsed with colors indicating derision. "They control 7 systems, 7! The Vordanian Empire alone spans 4,000. What could they possibly threaten us with? Their silence has been most amusing," added Prelate Crixton, her serpentine body coiling with satisfaction. "For 20 cycles they have sent messages, warnings, pleas. Empty words from an empty threat. What the Council did not know, what they could not have known, was that humanity's silence was never weakness. It was patience." 20 light-years away in the Sol system, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UNSC Defiance, watching the holographic display with cold eyes. Around Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies, thousands of ships hung in perfect formation, ships that had been built in absolute secrecy over 2 decades. "Admiral, the last surveillance drone confirms it," reported Commander Okafor. "The Council is proceeding with the invasion of the Tau Ceti colony. Vordanian warships have entered our space." Chen's jaw tightened. Tau Ceti was home to 15 million humans. 15 million souls the Council deemed insignificant. "Send the activation codes," Chen ordered quietly. "All fleets. All systems. Across human space, hidden beneath asteroid fields, cloaked within nebulae, buried in the gravity wells of gas giants, humanity's true fleet awoke. Not hundreds of ships, but hundreds of thousands. Not primitive vessels, but instruments of war designed with singular purpose. Survival against overwhelming odds. The Council had made a fundamental error. They had assumed humanity would build ships like theirs. Large, ostentatious displays of power meant to intimidate. Instead, humanity had built weapons. Compact, deadly, and utterly pragmatic. Back in the Council chambers, Thexlar was still speaking when the first reports came in. "Ambassador, urgent transmission from Fleet Commander Voxtar." An aide's voice carried a note of confusion. "He reports unidentified vessels emerging throughout the Helios sector." Thexlar waved a dismissive hand. "Unidentified? Impossible. Our sensors map everything within—" "Over the Vordanian home system," the aide interrupted, his voice rising. "Over Zephyros Prime, over Crataxia. Sir, they're appearing over every Council homeworld simultaneously." The chamber fell silent. That was impossible. The distances involved, the coordination required. No species possessed such capability. "Visual feed," Zephix commanded, his colors shifting rapidly to indicate alarm. The holographic display materialized above the assembly. Counselors from 24 species watched in dawning horror as the skies above their homeworlds filled with human vessels. Not just dozens, not hundreds, thousands upon thousands of sleek, dark ships that had somehow bypassed every defense, every sensor net, every early warning system. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Nations Space Command." A voice echoed through every Council chamber, every command center, every government building across Council space. "For 20 years we asked for peace. For 20 years we warned you to respect our borders. You chose to ignore those warnings. You chose to mock our restraint." On the display, human ships hung in perfect formation above capital cities across the galaxy. Not firing, not attacking, simply present. An unspoken promise of what could happen if they wished it. "You see our fleets above your worlds?" Chen continued, his voice carrying the weight of cold fury. "Right now, my forces are in position to glass every single one of your homeworlds. Billions of lives hang in the balance, your lives, your families, your children." Thexlar's forearms trembled. The Vordanian homeworld, seat of an empire spanning millennia, had 20,000 human vessels in orbit. He could see them on the feed, their weapons ports closed but ready. "But we are not you," Chen said, and something shifted in his tone. something harder than steel, sharper than any blade. We do not wage war on the innocent. We do not threaten civilians to make political points. So here is what will happen. Your fleets will withdraw from human space immediately. Your governments will sign non-aggression treaties within 48 hours. And you will never, ever mistake our restraint for weakness again. High Counselor Zephix found his voice, though it wavered. How did you hide such a fleet? Our sensors. You never looked beneath your own stars, Chen replied simply. For 20 years, while you laughed at our primitive technology, we built these ships in the gravity wells of your own gas giants, using the radiation of your own stars to mask our construction. We learned your patrol patterns, mapped your blind spots, studied your arrogance. The truth settled over the council like a shroud. While they had been dismissing humanity as irrelevant, human engineers had been working within their own systems, invisible and patient. The council had been so certain of their superiority that they had never considered checking their own backyards. You taught us a valuable lesson, Admiral Chen said, his image appearing on every screen. His face was weathered, tired, but his eyes burned with the fire of someone who had carried an impossible burden. You taught us that in this galaxy, mercy is seen as weakness. So let me be clear, we showed you mercy today. We positioned our fleets to make a point, not to kill. But if you ever threaten humanity again, we will not be so generous. The silence stretched across light years. You have 48 hours, Chen repeated. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Above every council homeworld, human ships hung like dark angels, silent judges of an empire that had finally encountered something it could not simply conquer. In the council chambers, Thexlar collapsed into his seat. Around him, the greatest powers in the galaxy sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the truth. Humanity had never been silent out of fear. They had been silent because they were listening, learning, and preparing. And now, beneath the stars of their enemies, humanity's fleets had spoken louder than any words ever could. The age of underestimating humanity was over. It had ended the moment their fleets awoke beneath council stars. Fleets built in secret, launched in silence, and positioned with the precision of a species that understood one fundamental truth. In the darkness between the stars, the quietest predators are the most dangerous, and humanity had learned to hunt in absolute silence.